Hey YouTube, how you doing today? It's almost Friday. One more to go, unless you work weekends. What's going on with you? How's everything going? Here to bring you another one, another banger. But I gotta warn you, today's content may be graphic to some of you out there. So I gotta put that in the clause here. But I feel that it's a necessary topic to bring up, especially in today's world. So this is more or less directed to the ladies and the women out there. You need to pay attention to what I have to present you today, because it could be the matter of life and death to one of you. I want you to take notice of a pretty nice little suitcase I got here. Pretty big, kind of small, but it can serve multiple purposes. And depending on the circumstance, if there's something too big for this bag, if it's broken down, anything can fit inside, including you. That's what we're here to talk about, ladies. And this applies to anyone in general, but primarily the ladies out there. Because you see, there's a lot of sick men in this world. A lot of twisted-minded men, mostly, in this world. And that consists of women too. Don't count them out. You gotta be careful with everyone out there. I bring this up because I had mentioned to someone at work not too long ago that, hey, you might want to be careful if you plan on taking a trip to Mexico. This and that is going on all the time. And I had presented a story to that particular person at the time, somewhat as a warning. But I didn't have all the details. And when I went looking for the details, to my surprise, I've learned that similar situations have happened across the United States, not only in Mexico, on numerous occasions. And I'm talking just within the last 2 months. We're in March, since the beginning of the year. And instances that I've come across are young women and ladies that have fallen victim to a sadistic person out there. Ones they've met online, ones they've met randomly here and there, ones they thought were acquaintances, etc. But no matter how the situation started, I can tell you how they all ended. With one of these. And it's very unfortunate, but it's a reality. that we live in these days, in this day and age. I got a lot of facts I want to bring to you. Normally, as you know, or may not know, all my videos I present to you, I pretty much wing them. And since I don't use editing software as of yet, I got to do them from beginning to end. One shot, one take. So I still don't have editing software. But since I do have a lot of information for you that I think is vital and important to you, I actually had to write them down because I wanted to get my facts straight. But I wanted to mention to the ladies out there that you can't be getting on these dating sites anymore. I know it's a trend. I know it's a thing to do these days, but it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous these days. There's too many stories out there of things going awry. There's multiple ways of meeting the man of your dreams, possibly. But if your only source is trying to find someone online via a dating app, then you might get more than what you bargained for. Because you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know if that's the real person that's presented in the picture. You don't know if it's a male or female. You don't know their true identity whatsoever. Know when you will find out? When it's too late. That's when you don't want to find out. There are a lot of hunters out there, and they search for young women such as yourself that may seem vulnerable, that may seem naive, that may simply be young, age-wise. And there's certain men out there that look for you. And their intentions are nothing nice. You can't trust anything they tell you behind a computer screen. You can't believe anything about them to be true because you don't know them. They're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear to lure you in. And once they got you on the hook, what they do with you from that moment forward is entirely up to them. Don't be so desperate to find yourself in a relationship and jumping on these sites, scrolling left, scrolling right, whatever the process is. Because what I have for you is a few examples. In Globe, Arizona, just in January, at the end of January of 25 this year, January 27th to be precise, 14-year-old girl by the name of Emily Pike, Native American. She was actually at the time living in a group home. But she met a gentleman online, was talking to this particular individual online. And this individual took advantage of her. He lured her in. She was missing for a few days. Guess how they find her? They found her, excuse me. They found her body dismembered off the highway on Valentine's Day. Approximately 17, 18 days later. Dismembered. These people, these monsters, these animals, they have no respect for your life. They have a sickness, or they have a possession over their body that they have no control over. Sometimes they get caught after the first instance. Sometimes they get away with it for decades. But tell me why a 14-year-old girl is online talking to a grown man to begin with. That's partially where the problem starts. But there's your example. No matter how it starts, the potential of it ending like this is extremely high. Extremely high. Rest in peace, Emily Pike. Yet another example. 19-year-old girl. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This happens to be almost a year ago, April 2024, but still very important nonetheless. Her name was Sade Robinson. She met up with a Maxwell Anderson, a 33-year-old man. 33 years old. Remind you, she's 19. Yes, she has that choice to make on her own. But she's 19. This 33-year-old lured her in. By however means he did so. Once again, the way it ended was the same. A bag was found in the park with a severed leg in it, which belonged to Sade Robinson. 19 years old. Can you imagine losing your sister to this? Losing your daughter to that? To a monster? In that fashion? I can't. I can't imagine losing a loved one in that fashion, let alone my own daughter. If that ever was the case, that wouldn't be the only headline you'd be reading in the news. If I ever found out the person who had something to do with that. But let's prevent these actions from taking place in the first place. That's the reason I'm bringing these instances to you. Because a lot of times, They're not broadcasted to the world. A lot of times they're announced within the local news of that city and county. And once that 30 seconds is up, you never hear about it again. In most cases. So just to speed things up, rest in peace, first of all, to Sade Robinson. Yet another 16-year-old girl. 16. Her name was Miranda Corsett from Florida. On social media, like I said, she met up with a 35-year-old by the name of Stephen Gress, Gress. He lured her in. He said what he had to say to lure her in. 16 years old, online, talking to a 35-year-old male. More than likely, he didn't present himself as a 35-year-old male. That's what I mean by you can't believe anything that's posted about who you're talking to and what their intentions are, etc. This instance was just a few days ago, maybe a week, if that. And today is March 13th, 2025. So we're talking up to a week ago, at most. But she met up with this Stephen. And she was kidnapped. Stephen had a girlfriend by the name of Michelle Grandis, also 35 years old. Well, guess what? The two of them participated in kidnapping Miranda Corsett. Not only did they kidnap her, they placed a pool table ball in her mouth and saran wrapped her head until she suffocated. Imagine that. Once she was dead or unalived, they dismembered her and put her body in a bag in a dumpster. This was Florida. This was a couple, a male and a female. I told you, it's not just the men you got to worry about. There are some devious women out there that would do anything for their man. Because that man has control over her in some way, form, or fashion. If you don't get lured in to begin with, you won't end up at a residence that has a couple that has plans of ending your life and dismembering your body and throwing it out like trash. Rest in peace, Miranda Corsett. Last but not least, reiterating on the story I was telling a friend at work about the Mexico situation. And this was at the end of February, February 27th. There were 9 students of Mexico, residents of Mexico. They were going to a beach in Mexico. 9 students. And they were kidnapped. they were tortured. And they had bullet wounds. And of course, what Mexico is known for, they were also dismembered. Their bodies were placed in the trunk of a vehicle, roadside. Another bag was found near that vehicle with 9 pairs of hands. Imagine that. So not only is it unsafe for visitors, it's unsafe for Mexico's own residents at times. So not only is it potentially unsafe in other countries, it's unsafe just the same here in this one, the United States of America. Now, this is not relevant to the Mexico case. These 9 individuals, or 9 students, were part of a gang. These were men and women that were part of a gang. And they ranged from age 19 to 30. They were college students. Their gang was intertwined with selling drugs to tourists that visited Mexico. I'm assuming they went to the tourist destinations and they provided drugs upon request to tourists. That's what their MO was. Now, that alone doesn't justify what happened to them. But to continue on, the gang leader, which wasn't one of the 9, lured them to this particular beach to get slaughtered. That same gang leader was slaughtered himself a few days later. That's a twisted circle right there. Twisted circle of events. In a sense, they knew what they signed up for. But regardless, you talk about young individuals that met a fate that they didn't anticipate. So out of respect, I feel I need to say rest in peace to those 9 individuals by the name of Angie Garcia, Leslie Trejo, Brenda Moya, Jacqueline Cesares, Noemi Moratilla, Raul Lozano, Ruben Antonio, and Rolando Armando. Now, of course, those individuals have 3 to 4 names to include their actual name, their full name. But it gets pretty lengthy at that point. So hopefully I'm referring to the right people, being that the middle names are often different in Mexico. But ladies, again, as a lady, as a woman, I know it's natural to be trusting, to having a desire to want to help all the time. But in 2025, You got to put your guards up. Because we're not living in Mayberry 1956 anymore. We're not living in the black and white days where everything was safe. On paper anyways. You have to be cautious before every action it is that you take. If you plan on meeting someone that you've met online, forget that Apple Find Me application where somebody knows where you're at. No, you bring someone with you to that meet. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your brother, your best friend, your sister, doesn't matter. You bring them with you. That date does not begin without there being another party there for your safety. I'm not saying if it's a dinner date, they have to sit at the same table. I'm saying they need to be in the vicinity to have eyes on you. That's what I'm saying. Because if they find your app and they're in the comfort of their home and they can see where you're at or where you're not at, it's already too late. They won't know something's wrong until the next day. They won't know if you're really where that app says you are until the next day. Remember, that phone could be dumped in the river. That phone could be left 100 miles away while you and your remains are completely somewhere else. You plan on going out with someone? It don't have to be at nighttime. It don't have to be at their house. It don't have to be in a secluded location. It don't have to be in a residence filled with other guys or filled with their friends and you know no one there. If you're meeting at a certain location, you drive your vehicle there. They drive their vehicle there. You arrive separately and you leave separately. You make sure someone knows of every action you're taking along the way. You make sure that person isn't following you to your destination, back home. If you take this, if you take the same route every single time, you better switch it up that night or that day once that date is over with. You don't have to jump on the freeway normally? Jump on the freeway. Hit a couple roundabouts. Make sure nobody's following you. That's what you have to do these days. You don't have to meet up with someone to get to know them. You don't have to be alone with them to get to know them. You don't have to accept a drink from them that you don't know what was slipped into it when you glanced away for 2 seconds. You don't need to be drinking with someone you don't know, because at that point you're not in your right mind. You're easily manipulated when you're not in your right mind. I'm sick of seeing and hearing about women that end up like this. It's sickening. It is sickening. Women are the best thing to happen to this earth. Most things are done because of them and for them. Yet you got individuals out here, and all they can think about is causing pain to them. They have a pure hatred for them for whatever reason. One more thing, you need to learn how to read the signs of men like this. If you've been with a man for a while and he has shown you signs of losing control, signs of not having anger management in his life, if he shows you signs of being cruel to any type of animal, whether it's a full-grown or a baby animal, if he has the intent and desire to harm anything, guess how he sees you? No different. Just a matter of time before that same pain is inflicted on you. And if he has no control of himself, that's when you get headlines in the news. If he has the desire just to see what it feels like to do something sadistic like that, that's when you get the next headline in the news. You don't make excuses for your man or your boyfriend or your husband once you see these signs. These things don't pop out from one day to the next. They're festering inside that person's being. They're festering inside. And little snippets of it, little tidbits are shown to you from time to time. You got to pick up on it. You got to learn your woman's intuition. You got to learn how to read your sixth sense. They say women have it. Your life is going to depend on you understanding your feelings, and you understanding your sixth sense, and you understanding your intuitions. That's going to determine your outcome in many situations. If he seems like an individual that's unstable, you better walk away. Don't think you can fix him. Don't think, oh, I'm going to let that slide, or pretend like you didn't see what you just saw. Because a lot of these problems that these men have, and I hate to call them men, but a lot of problems that these men have started in their life from childhood. They're the ones that are youngsters that are out there harming animals. Those are the younger bullies out there. Those are the ones you hear about constantly that can't keep a girlfriend, that are putting their hands on them constantly. Those are the ones. And guess what? They grow up. And now you've happened to find them. You can't fix that. The ones who are into satanic items, satanic things, they allow Satanism to come into their life. Remember, we are spirits. If they allow a spirit to take over them, that spirit only wants death and destruction for not only the host, but for everyone they come in contact with. That spirit alone may be giving them ideas of how to do something devious and convince them that they can get away with it. You will never know if that's the case, because that person's going to have a smile on their face. That person's going to present themselves in the best light they can. But you got to look for the cracks. You got to look for the slip-ups. You got to protect yourself, young lady, young woman, elderly woman. Because these crimes happen to any aged woman or girl. There's certain men that they don't care how old you are. They just want a victim. That's all they want, is a victim. So if you are naive and not wise to what's being pulled over your eyes, then guess what? You're their next victim. And I don't want to see that for you. I'm sick of reading these headlines. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to. I almost got in trouble for saying it just now. But you have to provide for your own safety. If you still plan on getting online in these dating apps, you better bring protection with you at all times. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's mace. I don't care if it's a pew-pew. You can only say certain things, but you know what I mean by a pew-pew. I don't care if it's a blade. You better bring something with you to put up a fight. Because I've heard in many cases where victims' mothers have said, she was a strong woman. She was a strong girl. She could hold her own. I know she put up a good fight. None of that matters if you don't have a weapon. I don't care how tough of a girl you are, how tough of a woman you are. You're still dealing with a grown man. And if he's not a grown man, you're still dealing with a man, period. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to have a weapon. He's going to surprise attack you. That's why you want to have all your senses on point when you're dealing with someone you don't know. You're visiting someone you don't know. You want to even out the playing field. If he wants to bring harm your way, well, guess what? You can do the same exact thing in return. So please, ladies, I don't want to see any more victims out there. I don't want to hear any more about suitcases. Remember, you don't need these dating apps. They're too dangerous. I don't care what type of woman you are. Just simply go out your door. And you can find any man. It's not the case for men. But if you're a female, just simply go out the door. Go to the store. Go to the coffee shop. Go anywhere to meet someone the old-fashioned way. Because 9 times out of 10, you will get catfished. 9 times out of 10, the person is not on that site with the same intentions that you have for being on that site. I'm getting rather long here, and I can go on and on and on about your safety. So please take heed. Again, this video had graphic content. Hopefully you were able to cope with that. And until next time, I'm gonna keep bringing you the real, because over here, we keep it all the way peanut. And ain't no more real than that. Peace out.